I'll go up. Oh, there we go. Thank you. You might have to turn. No, that's probably pretty good, actually. I'll just have to make sure I'm not too close to the mic. Give myself some distance from the mic so I can project my bitch.
Anything like the source, X test, source, no, the X test is created no source. OBS. And then here, United States. And then success broadcast created. Sick. We should be live. We should be live on everything else.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And welcome, friend, to the Doing Better Show. My name is Oliver Ox. I just moved way too close to the microphone. Let me back the fuck up. Des, can you turn me down a smidgen, please? I'm a little too loud in the microphone. And I want to be able to speak with passion without clipping. That's perfect. I think you got me good. Thank you guys for joining us today. We have a lot to talk about today. Little change of plans. We originally had a couple of guests scheduled for today, and things went the way that things sometimes go. So it will just be me and broadcast Deazy in the house today, with, of course, engineer Des back on the 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, and 6s. That's how many channels we have. All right. So Des, how are you today? You got your? Are you mic'd up back there? No, you're not. So, I have some. Are you on? He's still plugging away. We are short today because for a couple of reasons. One, we have a sickness in the Doing Better family, and I'm actually I've been fighting off a sinus infection of my own the last couple of days. I'm finally feeling better, but I got a little red around here. Des, you there?
The mic was not on.
Hey, what's up? Engineer Des in the house. How you feeling today, Des?
Amazing. I'm happy to be here.
Do you want to share with the people today the wonderful milestone that I hit today? Thanks to you, partially thanks to you.
He beat me 3 times in a row.
So I broke my wrist in September. I very badly broke my wrist, and it's been a very slow and arduous process coming back from said broken wrist. It was about 2 months in a cast, and then I was like, no offense, in the least offensive way possible. I mean that I literally my hand did this. So, and it's been a lot of physical therapy. It's been a lot of time coming back. I was finally able to dribble a basketball and shoot a little bit a couple of months ago, and I've been trying to get back. And my wonderful son and I play fairly regularly together. And for the last 2 months since I've been getting back to it. Deazy, I had it set up for 2 people. Since I've been getting back to it, he's been absolutely destroying me. He's gotten a lot better in the last few months because he's almost 16, and that's what almost 16-year-olds do. They improve, and I'm slightly older than that, and slightly older people have a tougher time improving. So I had a fear as of about a month ago that I was never going to beat my son in a game of basketball again for the rest of my life because I was significantly weaker in my shooting hand, and he was significantly stronger in every other way. However, today, in 3 consecutive games to 7, your boy.
There's a caveat. I was at the gym for 2.5 hours, so there's a caveat.
So there's a slight excuse on the part of my competition is that he had been playing for 2 hours before I got there. So I was slightly fresher in the legs, but he is 16 and I'm slightly older than 16. So that I feel like that gets canceled out. And either way, I got some range back. I hit my first 3 in a competitive game. So it still hurts every single day, and I still have to stretch it. I can't really stretch it the whole way, and I have to do that. It really hurts, whatever. But I'm making progress, and it makes me. It's a very big source of joy for me, and a little bit of pride as well, because it was very depressing, hurting myself at 40-something years old, as I did. Because when you're 15, the first time I broke my wrist, you come back so quick. Your body is just so resilient, so full of human growth hormone and all those wonderful things that you don't really have much of a recovery time from injuries. But this has been brutal and one of the harder things I've had to deal with, certainly physically in my life. So feeling very blessed right now, very proud of myself, and very thankful to my wonderful son for giving me a good game of basketball, or 3 good games of basketball today, and making me. I had to work hard. I was very sweaty after. What did we play for about a half an hour total, I think, and I was drenched by that point in time. But anyway, I should gotta do some other physical fitness stuff to get back together. But in one way, I'm on the mend. Deezy, you all plugged in and with us?
Yes, I'm just making sure all the lives are going good.
Making sure everything's working. We got sound and such. No. At least I can see on the screen that we got sound, unlike last week for the first 10 minutes of the show. So this has been a very exciting week politically. Just the last few months. If you're into politics, it's a strange time, because in some ways, I think of those of us who've been paying attention for a long time, it's really easy to get discouraged and, quite frankly, depressed about the state of American politics. But one thing I always have to say is it is not a boring time to be alive. And certainly when it comes to American politics, it is not a boring time to be alive. So there's so much stuff that we've talked about, so much stuff that's relevant to our show and the things that we care about. If you're new to the Doing Better show, we care about working people and truth and transparency. That's where we come from. We're looking for a honest, fair government and fair treatment from our government, and we expect transparency in all ways. So that doesn't mean it should be flawless, but we're looking in that direction. And a lot of people were really excited about the Trump presidency, the second Trump presidency, for this exact reason. There was a lot of talk. So Donald Trump came to the Libertarian Convention for the first time, and any other major candidates come to a Libertarian Convention, and spoke a lot about getting more transparency and more clarity into government. And since then, on the campaign trail, especially with RFK joining the team, spoke extensively about disclosure, specifically JFK files, Martin Luther King files, and the Epstein files. And these are 3 things that those of us who care about transparency and truth in government have really, really, really been interested in. I think for obvious reasons. The assassination of John F. Kennedy was in 1963. That's a very long time ago. It seems highly unlikely that there would be any relevant, sensitive information still included in that stuff. And the fact that it's still, we're talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of pages of documents. The fact that it's still covered up is highly, highly suspicious. And there's many of us who think that the assassination of John F. Kennedy was effectively a coup, that in 1963, we effectively lost democracy in this country. And the fact that they're not willing to come out and say, here's everything we know, let's be transparent about something that happened 62 years ago now, is really, really, really sus. Let's be honest. There's no other spin on that than it's suspect. There's no way you can honestly hide something for 60 years and say, oh no, this is for good reason. Who are we worried about? Any of the agents that were working for CIA, FBI, fill in the blanks at the time, are long since retired and probably all dead. So it's not like there's people out in the field that we need to protect. It's not like there's interests that should still be active. The only thing you're covering up at this point in time is crime. And crime of really the highest order. If there was any inside knowledge in our government of the murder of a president, that's treason. That's a coup. That's an attack on democracy itself, right? When you have a democratically elected leader get shot down by other elements inside the government, that's a coup. That's what we call a coup in every other country in the world. And I don't see any evidence based on what we've seen now that it's not that. Did I miss something over there? I saw you guys plugging away. We good?
Yeah, I had to fix the X stream.
Thank you very much. So Now, that was one of the things that Donald Trump said he was going to open up when he got into office. Martin Luther King. There's lots of people, including the family of Dr. Martin Luther King, who say that the FBI was involved in his assassination plot. In collusion with the is it Memphis? I believe it was the city of Memphis, the police department there. There's lots of evidence to show that James Earl Ray was not responsible for that death. And again, 1968. This is 57 years ago, right? There's no logical reason you should want to cover this information up unless the people who are responsible are still in power somewhere. And if that's the case, that's unacceptable. And I don't feel like that's a radical thing to say, that people who are responsible for assassinations shouldn't be in power in our government. You know, since that time, since the death of Martin Luther King, we've named every inner city street Martin Luther King Boulevard, and we have days after him, and every February we wave flags and we celebrate Martin Luther King. But during his life, the FBI in files that have been released, clearly was harassing him, trying to get him to commit suicide, blackmailing him, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If you're unfamiliar with COINTELPRO, and you want to look at what our government did during the civil rights movement, our government was against the civil rights movement. Let's be clear about it. The intelligence agencies fought against the civil rights movement every step of the way. Fred Hampton, murdered by the police. Just straight up, no, there's no excuse. There's no way you can twist that and go, well, actually, there was no standoff. He was sleeping in his bed. He got killed by the police. So these are civil rights leaders who we now pseudo celebrate, right? Every February, and every time there's some corporate reason, Target wants to tell you how incredibly equitable it is, they'll go on about Black History Month and thank God for Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement. But during the time, the entire establishment, the government, the corporations, the media, were pretty dead set against any of this progress. And remember, Dr. Martin Luther King was not just a let's be shiny, happy people holding hands. He was a very strong anti-war advocate. He was a very strong advocate for poverty. And what's happened to war and poverty since 1968? Well, wars have exploded. We've had nonstop wars since 1968. There's not been a moment of American history since 1968 and we're not bombing somebody or involved in some conflict. And we still have, although poverty is greatly improved, if you look at the numbers, poverty is much better now than it was in 1968. That's due to technology. That has nothing to do with government programs bailing people out. It has nothing to do with a reevaluation of our values. It's nothing to do with empowering workers, nothing to do with helping people. It's just because technology made everything cheaper and easier. And that's what's brought people out of poverty. It's got nothing to do with any do-goodery on the side of our government. So on both JFK and MLK, there's very suspicious reasons why we're not doing anything about this. And again, Trump said, I'm going to release all these files. The third big one on this list are the Epstein files. And if you've been following the Doing Better show, we did about half of our first season. We did all about the Epstein files. We did some deep dives. If you've heard of Whitney Webb, she's a phenomenal investigative reporter who's done a ton of stuff on Jeffrey Epstein. I really suggest you look her up. But again, this is a very big deal. And I want to show something that I thought was really telling. Des, can you switch over to my screen? So this is NBC News talking about this, and this is a couple of days ago, this article I pulled up. But it's just such a brilliant example of mass media spin on things, right? Like, hyped release of Epstein files sparks anger and disappointment on the right. I just want to break that down a little bit, right? So it's all hype, right? So right in the way, it's all hype. Hyped release. Oh, it's all hype. Like, it's not a big deal that there was this effectively likely Mossad agent blackmailing everybody of significance and power in the U.S. government for the last 10, 15 years, in corporations, et cetera. That's whatever. This child molester, blatant baby toucher, who had a long history of it and rubbed elbows with all the most notorious baby touchers, had a baby toucher fucking island that your president went to. Whatever your favorite president is, he fucking went there. So this is the situation. This is the reality. And it's just a bunch of hype according to NBC News. They're the Epstein files. Let's put it in quotes when we talk about the Epstein files. So we're just like, ooh, it's so this weird thing that out there weirdos and podcasters talk about. And it sparks anger and disappointment on the right. I'm not on the fucking right. We're not on the right. Whitney Webb is not on the right. There's lots of us that are not on the right. We're not conservatives. We're not hardcore religious types. We're not warmongers. We're not corporate shills. We're none of the things that on the right is supposed to mean. We're none of those things. We just don't want child molesters having control over people in our government. I don't think that's this like wacky out there thought that we can't have the child molesters should be rooted the fuck out of our government and not in the game. That blackmail is not how we should do business. I don't think these are tough concepts. So, but the story is a true story here. So although they are completely twisting it to make common sense seem like a wacky thing, the truth is there. There has not been this disclosure. So Trump got in. There was no disclosure. Then he said, "Oh, we got to get Kash Patel in at the head of the FBI." So they got him in. Still no disclosure. Oh, we got to get Pam Bondi in as the Attorney General. We got to make that happen. Still no disclosure. And then they've made this committee. Is it a committee? Release committee? They called it some sort of little committee. They got a handful of senators on this committee, all of whom get a ton of money from Israel, if you know that connection. And they're going to be releasing these documents in the committee. Again, this is on its face ridiculous. What do you need a committee to release documents? There's nothing to it. Do you need a committee to go to the bathroom tonight? Like, oh man, I ate too much. I need a committee. No, you just go and you take a dump.
It's a censor out all the people who are a part of it.
Right. If you want to release the documents, you know what you do? You release the documents. There's no committee. Oh, I have to have a committee to chew my food for dinner tonight. No, just release the documents. They're all there. The Epstein, everything you have on Epstein, you put it on the fucking internet. Done. Everything you have on JFK, you declassify it all and you put it on the internet. Done. Give me a scanner and a room full of temps, and we'll get it done tonight. We'll get on there and we'll just get. I'll organize it. I promise. I'll figure it all out. I'll get a nice little system all the time. We'll get on scanners and we'll have it all on the internet by midnight. This is not hard. It's all horseshit. Gentlemen, sorry, I'm ranting hardcore. I'm fired up today. You guys have anything you want to add? So it's all there. All this stuff is there. And it's interesting seeing how people are reacting. So we have this such strong polarization in politics, and we have the media and the establishment in Washington trying to put everything into left, right, red, blue. We have to always keep this division among us so that we don't focus on the fact that this incredibly horrible stuff is happening. And it takes me to something I've been thinking about a lot lately. And I'm not, this is not something I came to naturally. I've been influenced by many people in this area, and it's something we've talked about a little bit before. But when it really comes down to it, we've become an immoral society. We have no morals. And I want to be really, really clear what I mean by morals, because I'm not talking about higher level deep stuff. I'm not talking about religious morals. I'm not talking about chastity and obedience and any of the things that we think about, like morality in a religious sense or morality in a judgmental sense. What I mean by morality is the most basic morality required for us to live as a society. The moment we decided we're not going to hit each other with sticks anymore and the biggest guy doesn't win, right? Like watch a little David Attenborough tonight, watch Blue Planet or something, watch some nature show, right? Like the biggest walrus on the beach, he wins, right? Like that's the guy who gets to mate with all the lady walruses because he's the biggest walrus and he puts his teeth into the other walruses. And do you see all the things that walruses build and all the walrus technology as a result? No, because that's not how you live together in society. There's no such thing as society when the biggest guy just wins, because you can't have any progress there. If you think, if you were going to build a house and we had no morality, we had no laws, we had no standards, How much work are you going to put into building your house if you know somebody can just come, whack you over the head and take your house? You're going to build a shack. You're going to go find a cave somewhere. You're going to figure out how to defend it, but you're not going to make it a big, beautiful house. You're not going to put in all kinds of effort. What are you going to invent? What efforts are you going to put into improving your life or your neighbor's life through invention? If someone can just come and whack you over the head, as soon as it's a bigger guy or a less nice person or a less moral person going to whack you over your head and take your stuff, nobody will make anything. We'll have no progress. There'll be no trade. There'll be none of the things that have empowered people and have made the world a better place. People being willing to put in effort, time, dedication, cooperation, collaboration, all the things that make all the things we value, right? Look around you. Every single thing that you care about that's a thing came from cooperation and understanding and hard work and dedication and all that. And none of that is possible if we live like animals. So there's a morality that flows from that. And it's very, very simple. Some people call it natural law. And it's basically three rules. It's two definite rules, and the third is one that I throw in there as well. It's tough stuff. So focus here. This is really, really hard to follow. Number one, don't hurt people. We all know what that means. It means no aggression. It means the only time it's acceptable to use violence is in self-defense. And I think 99% of us across religion, race, political party, whether you're a communist or a capitalist, fill in the blanks. 99% of us can agree that aggression, that hurting people using violence is wrong. Very, very simple, right? Thing two, don't take people's stuff. I think 99% of us know what's yours and know what's mine, right? Like, this is my house. I bought it. I'm the person who pays the mortgage. I'm the person who cuts the lawn, and that's where I cook my dinner. Like, I added my labor to this product, which I paid for. It's mine. You can't just come and take it. And vice versa, right? This is two rules that we need. Going along with that is don't defraud people. That's sort of like part 2A. It's like, don't defraud people. So don't be like, oh, my house is made of gold and it's actually not made of gold, and then try and get over on people that way. But these are both, again, don't hurt people and don't take their stuff by force or fraud. Really simple rules. My third one is mind your own fucking business, because that makes everything go a little bit smoother as well when we don't try and get involved in each other's stuff. But that's morality to me. And again, I'm not getting into anything religious. I'm not trying to step on any religious toes. I'm not trying to get into the sacraments of marriage and chastity and obedience and all these things. That's all a different type of morality that I'm not talking about. But this very basic morality, don't hurt people, don't take their stuff, and mind your business, I think 99% of us can agree on. Here's the problem. 99% of us support people who routinely break these rules. The people that we have in charge right now, again, if you're a Trump supporter, has he gone his life and followed those rules? I don't think so. How about Joe Biden before him? Oh, that's a definite no. How about Barack Obama before him? Oh, that's a definite no. How about, we can go to Bushes and Clintons and Bushes and Reagans. We let people run our country. We let people move to places of dominance, and this is not just in government, this is in big corporations too. We let people that are effectively scumbags, people you would never let babysit your children, people you would never trust with anything in your life, raised to the highest positions of power. And we do it because of tribalism and bullshit. Because, well, I'm on the red team, so that means Trump is a good guy and everything is bad about Biden. Or I'm on the blue team, Trump is a fascist, all you people are racist, my guy's the good guy. No, they're all bad guys. And the reason they're bad guys is not because I'm some crazy conspiracy theorist or because I'm an anti-government person or because I hate America, or it's because they break the basic rules of morality. They hurt people and they take their stuff. And that's wrong. And until we can start to own that, I'm not super hopeful about any political solutions. If you're always going to be like, well, the blue guy, he's the good guy. The red guy's definitely... And at the same time go, well, it's okay for my guy to hurt people and take their stuff, because your guy hurt more people and took more stuff. Or, well, my guy only hurts bad people and takes stuff from people I don't like. Your guy, It's all ridiculous. If you're hurting people and taking their stuff, you're the bad guy. There's no hurting people and taking their stuff against the bad guys. That's what bad guys do. These are not difficult concepts. And every single piece of the mainstream discourse is designed to drag you away from these simple ideas. Does your government serve your interests and take care of you? Yes or no? I think for most of you, the answer is no. Is it full of people that you share values of, moral values, the most important values, the things you'd expect from your kids? I'm not talking about they like the same color I do. They like the same, they're on my team religion-wise. They're on my team culture-wise. They have a rainbow flag. They have a God, they have a crucifix, whatever. None of that team tribal bullshit on the very basic levels. And I think if we can get back to that, we can start having reasonable conversations about moving forward as a society. But if we can't establish these most basic societal rules, don't hurt people and don't take their stuff, everything else is fucking pointless. And I think we're seeing that right now. We're seeing that right now with what's happened in Ukraine. We've seen it with what happened in Gaza. We saw it before that in Iraq and Afghanistan. All these ideas of democracy and saving people and justice and good guys and bad guys all went out the window because we were okay with becoming the bad guys. The moment you're okay with being the bad guys and aligning with the bad guys in the most simple terms possible, you're lost. You're not going to make anything better. And again, the proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the pudding with the Iraq War. The proof is in the pudding with every single action of people that are immoral in the most basic terms possible. Ooh, sorry, that was a lot of fucking rant there, but that one's been brewing in me for a while. Thoughts?
I was gonna say who hurt you and who's taking your stuff.
No, and that's the thing. I'm such a fortunate person. Like I've had very few people hurt me and take my stuff. It's happened minimally, and probably most of the times it's happened if I was paying a little bit better attention. It's on me. I feel this so strongly because my tax dollars are hurting people and taking their stuff. Like I'm doing it. If I didn't have kids, quite frankly, I was going to say if I had a little more moral fiber, I would just not take any more legal jobs and I'd not give any more money to the government. But unfortunately, I have kids to feed and that they take priority. So I feed my kids with one hand and I bomb other people's kids with the other, unfortunately. But that's what hurts me. It's because I feel like a shitty person because of the system I contribute to. And I feel guilty about it. All right, let's move on from spiels. That's quite a spiel. I want to talk about, if you saw the preview for today's show, I talked about why I think it's so unlikely that we're going to get any real Epstein information from Pam Bondi. So Pam Bondi is our new Attorney General. She's a very lovely looking young lady who's the very typical conservative darling, blonde hair and well-spoken and articulate. And she's been a lawyer since the early 90s, I believe. But what's significant about Pam Bondi's history is she's from Florida. She was practicing law in Florida, and she was in the state's attorney's office during, she was the assistant state attorney, I believe it was, or an assistant state attorney. I believe there's a number of them. Please correct me if I'm wrong about the structure of the Attorney General's office. It's not something I know a ton about beyond my time watching Law & Order. But she was the assistant state attorney while the Jeffrey Epstein case was happening. And if you remember from the Jeffrey Epstein case, they believe it was 2006 and 7 was when he got this sweetheart deal. There were reports from lots and lots of girls, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, about going to his apartment and giving him inappropriate massages and effectively making very, very serious allegations against the 50-year-old at the time billionaire that he was. And he got an incredible sweetheart deal from the Florida, the government of Florida, the Attorney General at the time, who was not Pam Bondi, but Pam Bondi's boss, and basically got it all swept under the rug. This is why I don't trust anybody, by the way, who was friends with Jeffrey Epstein after 2006. Bill Gates, I'm looking at you. Because after 2006, it was on record that he was a documented creep. And these were not unserious allegations, and they were not really allegations he made any effort to contest. It's pretty obvious what he was doing was, again, pretty bad stuff. He violating people, he was hurting people. The number one rule, right? The number one rule of morality that I think we can all agree to. 50-year-old men should not hurt 14-year-old girls. Yet, here we are. And Pam Bondi was there amongst all these people. She's one of them. Which is why we're getting this. The first Epstein file they released was all redacted. And it was the exact same as one that was released over a year ago by an independent journalist that wasn't redacted. So the only thing they've done is confirm that other people were way ahead of this than they are. So Pam Bondi's full of shit, and it makes me have a tough time thinking that Donald Trump is not also full of shit. But we'll see. We'll see if we get any more from these. If any more of this stuff is going to get released. What do you think we're going to see any of these files anytime soon?
Probably.
What do you think we're going to see?
I don't think we're going to see the whole thing, but I think we'll see a portion of it. They're going to try to stretch it as much as possible.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. Des, what do you think?
They're going to have all the dead people in there. All the dead people.
Yeah.
No, it's a good point, right? Like, there's probably lots of names of people that don't have enough power to get themselves off the list, or B, they're dead or irrelevant or whatever, and they'll sort of slow trickle of that stuff.
Also, you talk about the inappropriate massages made me think of the Deshaun Watson and stuff like that, and Justin Tucker, which is recent stuff that came out about that.
Yeah, so it's a good point. When you get these are two NFL players who've basically had allegations from massage therapists that they have been creeps, probably just taking their dick out when they're getting a massage, I'm guessing. Which again, creepy, non-consensual, not okay. But it's interesting seeing what a big story that is. But a billionaire financier, no big deal. What doesn't even make the news? Just sweep it right under the rug. That's a very good point. All right, I want to move on from this stuff. I got a couple more. I got 3 more things I want to talk about. Actually, might have to keep it to 2. There's one I want to wait for a guest to talk about. So let's talk about Ukraine stuff, because I always want to show a little clip of this, something everyone is talking about this week, and give you my take on it. So this is the very famous meeting of Zelensky, Trump, and J.D. Vance. And to me, this reeks of political theater. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Oh, hold on. Dad's got to get the sound working. Did you get that channel good? What we got on that channel? Sorry, we had it going before, but I don't know. Yeah.
Trying to prevent the destruction of your country.
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless. God bless. You will not have war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on
position
this
to
question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly what
this.
you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very
You
strong.
will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good
Brown,
position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having
not playing
cards.
cards.
But right now, you don't.
I'm
Yeah,
very
you're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War III.
what do you think
You're
about?
gambling with
What do you
World
think
War
about?
III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country, that's
with
back
all
to you,
respect to your
far
country.
more than a lot of people said
very
they
respectful.
should have.
Have you said thank you once this
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire
to
meeting,
me.
have you said
Okay,
thank
so
you?
that's we'll stop it right there, because I think this is so perfect. So if you look at what Trump is doing here, if you look at those talking points, this is everything that all of us were complaining about for the last 2 years of funding this war, right? We were talking about the fact that we're basically funding this entire war. We're sending all these resources over there. We're risking World War III. And Trump is playing this role of like, yeah, I'm standing up for the American people. and he's telling off Zelensky, and it feels very cathartic, right? It feels like he's trying to get this emotional moment when it's like, yeah, he's fighting for us. You tell him, Trump. You tell that little Zelensky who's been taking all our money and having this war and risking everything. You tell him, right? And then like JD Vance comes in. Have you even said thank you? We gave you $200 billion. Did you even say thank you for the bombs? And it just all feels so fake. Their outrage feels incredibly put on. And then the dynamic here, like I said earlier, it seems like every single thing the mainstream media and Washington wants to push us into these two sort of categories. So you have JD Vance and Trump doing the MAGA talking points, right? And then you have Zelensky, and if you watch more of this, he's pretty eloquent. He's pretty well-spoken, and he makes a very compelling case. He goes back to 2015 and talks about some annexation and basically frames Putin in the horrible dictator threatening the world, threatening all of Europe lens. And they did a very good job curating that at the beginning of this conflict, like they do at the beginning of every conflict, right? The threat of Saddam Hussein before the Iraq War, we had to paint him as this incredible threat to the world. He's the new Hitler. And then it's Gaddafi in Libya. Oh no, he's the new Hitler. Oh well, the Taliban, they're the new Hitlers in Afghanistan. It's one Hitler after the next. And they did a very good job in 2022 and 2023 making Putin seem like the new Hitler. And he's a pretty easy one. He used to work for the KGB. He's definitely an authoritarian. He's been president there for 20-something years. The elections don't seem super transparent. He does a good job playing the role very well. And what it sets up, again, is the exact same left-right, blue-red dynamic in which the blue side can very easily be like, look, Zelensky, he's the good guy. He's standing up to Putin. He's right. Trump and Vance are just morons. MAGA, stupid. We can just write that whole position off, and we fall right back into these camps. What do they not say? Either of them, let's point this out. Neither of them points out that Victoria Nuland has been planning this war since 2000-ish, that we funded the Maidan coup in 2014, that Zelensky hasn't been elected for many years. He was elected once and canceled the next election, that he's denied, he's persecuted journalists openly. He's made it illegal to speak Russian in certain parts of the country. He's outlawed religious parties, religious groups. He's outlawed political parties. This is a dictator. Let's be honest. It's a dictator. That's what dictatorship is. When you're not elected and you persecute people that don't agree with you, that's what he's done. They don't point out the fact that this has been an unwinnable war from the jump. JD Vance and Trump are too into promoting this American exceptionalism, America, we run the world view, to ever bring that stuff up. But the fact is, there was no way, even with American backing, this war was ever going to be won by Ukraine. The only way this war could have been won by the Ukraine is if we'd been willing to have a nuclear war over it. It's literally the only way. And the only way that works is if Putin is the rational person in that situation. If Putin says, I don't want the world to end, therefore go ahead, have the fucking Ukraine back. That's the only equation. So it's full-scale American involvement. And it's Putin's being the rational one while we're the crazy ones. That's the only way that they win the war. Because Ukraine is a little country, completely corrupt, with a very small economy relative to massive Russia with 10 times as many people, a far more advanced military, the number one supply of nuclear weapons in the world, huge natural resources, and the industry to pump that oil and that natural gas and dig that coal and you make that steel and et cetera. Again, it's like saying Mexico was going to beat America. It's like if Russia funded a coup in Mexico in 2014, but a Russia-friendly dictator in charge or president in charge in 2014, and then when and then when the United States and then started moving weapons and said and resources into Mexico, and then we said, hey, no, you can't do that. We're gonna go invade Tijuana, where we know you're putting weapons and where you're persecuting American speakers, English speakers, and thinking that was going to work. It's not going to work. America would always win in a war against Mexico. It's always because of resources and military and the number of people available and right down the line. The exact same way, the Ukraine was always going to lose this war. And all we've done in funding this war, in supporting this war, is kill Ukrainians. And Russians too, which if you're Lindsey Graham or one of these, nutcases in DC or a neocon, yes, there's dead Russians, it's all worth it. Fuck you. No, that's not worth it. And the working age population, the 25 to 40-year-old men in the Ukraine, absolutely decimated by this war. So now, to be fair, I don't believe this because I have done quite a bit of reading into the Ukraine situation, but that's not why I believe this. I believe this because I'm biased, and my bias is that war is a fucking racket. And the reason I continue this bias is because it's been right every single time. Again, in Iraq, all you neocons told me in 2002, we'll be in there for like 3 weeks. We'll get rid of Hussein. We'll put in the good guys and everything will be great. America, freedom, democracy, blah. And I said horseshit. And guess what happened? We had 20 years of Iraq involvement. We killed 1 million people. Same with Afghanistan, same with Libya down the line. Because every time the warmongers want to tell us everything's going to be great, just do the war. Just war it up a little bit. We'll war it up. Everything will be better after some warring. And that's not how it works. Because, let's bring it all back, war is immoral. It's wrong to kill people. It's wrong to hurt people. The only acceptable use of violence is in self-defense. If somebody attacks you, you can't just go back and kill a bunch of their people because they attacked you. Now, if you wanted to go and retaliate by blowing up their military bases or their armaments, then maybe that's justified. But this back and forth, we're going to war there, preemptive war, they're gonna hurt us. They have weapons, they might use them against us, we're gonna go war them. No, that's immoral. You're killing people and taking their stuff. So that's my current Ukraine war take. We'll see what happens with it. I'm not sure what direction it's going to go now. I know that Trump just spent $3 billion to Israel. He just sent a bunch more money to Israel. So they got some other wars going on. He's done plenty of other muscle flexing around militarism. So here's one thing you'll know for certain: the military industrial complex is going to get theirs. The people who make the bombs are going to get theirs. No, if this war's over, they'll start a new one because that's what they do, because that's how they make money and that's how they stay in control. All right. Let's talk about something that I know is close to a lot of people's hearts, and we're going to move on. I want to make mention of something else first real quick. There was, did you hear about the economic blackout about not buying anything on the 28th? Did you guys hear about that? You see it in your socials and stuff? So this is not the first time this has happened. So there was, let me pull up the article. Hold on, let me find it first. It's on here somewhere. Did I get rid of it? I might have gotten rid of it. There's that one. Oh yeah, no, here it is. So this is a story from The Intercept: how to turn an economic blackout into all-out war on economic power. So on Friday, the People's Union USA, a movement led by former drum instructor John Schwartz, organized a 24-hour economic blackout that calls on all American consumers to make no purchases, especially from major retail, gas, or fast food companies. This is not the first time this has happened. There's been other sort of buy nothing days, anti-consumerism, anti-corporate boycotts. We got more. Oh yeah. We're gonna hold off on talking. Hey, shout outs in the comments to our friend Constant Green Dreams. We will catch up on some of that. We're gonna do a big COVID-19 episode coming up soon because there's a ton of stuff, a ton of fallout from that. But I want to make sure I get all my research ducks in a row for this one because it's a really important one to me. But thank you, brother. And so one thing I do hear from a lot of people on the Trump side of things, and I understand people's desire to believe. some people call it hopium. But the goal for hope, and I don't want, that's condescending and rude of me, so I don't mean it like that. I get Trump made some really big promises, and he is an incredibly good salesman. That's why he has $1 billion and is the president, because he's a very good salesman. He made a great pitch, and I think maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Pam Bondi is not full of shit, and maybe these things are going to come out at some point in time. I hope I'm wrong. I get a little tired of hoping I'm wrong, being a negative bastard that I seem to be, but that is not my goal. I think, I hope I'm wrong. I hope that we find out all the Epstein things. I hope we find out the JFK files. I hope we find out the Martin Luther King files. I hope we find all that stuff. The reason I am not optimistic is because it's my belief, and what I really hope is wrong, that it's the exact same people in power. That the same people who were responsible for the death of our president in 1963, the death of America's most important civil rights leader in 1968, and another half dozen during the 60s, and responsible for all the Epstein ick, I think all those people are still in power. And that's why I think we're not getting it.
You're talking about you, Biden.
But I would say across the board, and I think it goes far beyond politics. I think it goes to the heads of banks. I think it goes to the heads of major corporations. I think it goes to military contractors. Again, the people with billions of dollars making the decisions. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. We shall see.
And also the celebrities.
And the celebrities too. Yeah, that's true. So let me thank you for your comment, by the way, and anyone else who's on there in the chat. Would love to hear from you. We're going to try and do a better job as we move forward of integrating the chat into our show. We might have to figure out some plugins or some shit for that, because it's something that I'm not good at. So we'll get there. I just wanted to comment on this on the blackout, because one thing that I think is really important. And it's very difficult to do, so that's why I get it. It's very easy to go, oh, we're going to not shop at all. Easy is the wrong word. It's simple to say, don't buy anything at all on February 28th, because we want to be anti-consumerism. We want to stop growth. We want to degrow, is what they say. And I get that. Again, our current economic model is based on constant growth, right? That's the way every corporation is judged, is on growing their profits, getting more profitable, and we're always looking for constant growth. There's a problem with that. We're on a little ball flying around in space, and we have finite resources. There's only so much stuff, right? So constant growth isn't necessarily particularly possible. In some ways it is. We can always grow our technology and our capacity to use that technology. So that, in that way, this sort of growth, we can always grow our understanding and our efficiency. But there's only so much coal, there's only so much gold and silver and oxygen and clean water and etc. So I understand the idea of saying we can't have an economic model that requires constant growth. What the anti-capitalists seem to always lose touch of, and again, if you're out there and you're anti-capitalist, if you're a big commie and you want to correct me, I'm happy to be corrected. I used to be a big, a celebrated member of your team. But what this always seems to overlook is that it's the structure of our current banking system, and it's something I talk about a lot. But the central banks make money out of thin air. They literally exist money like that. So, and that is what feeds our debt-based economy. And that's what, more than anything, makes this need for constant growth a thing. It's also what, more than anything, in my opinion, gives so much power to the few. It's why there's so few people who have so much power, because they're the ones who have access to that infinite money. I don't have access to infinite money. You don't have access to infinite money. If you want more money, you have to go work for it or sell some stuff, or you have to take on debt and pay interest on that money. That's not true for everybody. That's not true for the elite. So I think we can debate capitalism, socialism, and the free market and managed markets and all that stuff until we're blue in the face. But when we let the richest people make money out of thin air, it's all fucking irrelevant. There's no situation in which that is a sustainable or a just model. Because effectively, bringing it all back to morality, it's stealing. When you make money out of nothing, it's called counterfeiting. And the other people that have worked for their money gets devalued. That's what happens every time the Federal Reserve puts some more money, is the money that you worked for gets devalued. That's why a house costs $500,000 now. Because not because houses are more valuable, because your money's less valuable. And I think it's really, until we deal with this banking thing that we're dealing with now, and there's a lot more to it, and we'll talk more in a future episode about it. But until we address this, we can debate economics all day long, and it's completely pointless. It really is. So, and when it comes to boycotting corporations or boycotting business, I think it's really important that we make a distinction. I'm all for boycotting Walmart and Target and all the BlackRock-owned organizations and Amazon and all that. Like, let's do it from now until forever. Or pick a day to do it and build up some momentum there. I'm all for it. But don't boycott your local businesses. Don't boycott your friend who owns a bakery, or your other friend, who owns a mechanic shop, or your other friend who owns a bodega. Like, that's not helping anybody. Screwing those people over is not helping anybody. And, decreasing that consumption, degrowthing in that area, that does not meet anybody's needs. That is not a good long-term plan, in my opinion. Let me know what you think. Des, what do you think?
Wasn't there a whole ass thing about not buying from Target and Walmart because of their fucking
something?
The having to do with the diverse whatever.
Oh, DEI stuff. Yeah. So it happens a lot. There's a lot, whether it's the right and conservatives saying, oh, we don't like DEI, we're going to boycott anywhere that does DEI, or vice versa. And I think there's power in those individual boycotts, and I get why people do it. I think we need to start thinking more as a team and not on our separate teams. So again, we can agree to disagree on a whole bunch of things if we can take some very basic morality as a given. I want to touch on one more thing before we close for the day, because I want to talk about Doge, because Doge is a big one. And again, I think it's a great example of where both sides are wrong. Sides, I say. So when I see my friends, my Democrat friends, posting about this situation, they are railing against everything Elon Musk and Doge is doing. How dare you defund USAID? How dare you take money away from the FBI? How dare you threaten the CIA? And all this allegiance to institutions that don't serve you. So the idea that auditing the government and that cutting things like USAID are bad and anti-progressive is ludicrous. Our government spends trillions of dollars. It needs audited. It's wasteful. It's corrupt. It's a mess. This is a fact, like it or not. And if your reaction to this happening is to shove your head in the sand and say, no, we shouldn't be auditing everything because I hate Elon Musk and Donald Trump, then you're completely missing the point, especially with USAID. USAID is a CIA front, effectively. It engages in regime change. It engages in propaganda. It is fake aid. It's aid. We're going to pretend to help people as we influence them for corporate needs. It's very similar to the World Bank and the IMF, if you know anything about them. But it's fake do-goodery when the real mission is control. That's what USAID does. It does not help people. I mean, sure, it helps some people. Nothing is 100% one way or the other. But en masse, its goal is corporate imperialism. That's what it does. And if you're a good progressive, you should be firmly against corporate imperialism. You should be very happy that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are defunding USAID. That is a good thing. Now, let's talk about why the other side is wrong. Elon Musk. Des, give me a little shot of the screen. Elon Musk has gotten $38 billion in contracts from the federal government. He ain't the guy. I'm all for auditing the shit out of this government. I bet you could cut 50% of our spending like that and nothing bad would happen. In fact, only good things would happen, because I think we're incredibly wasteful, and I think we fund all sorts of things that are fundamentally negative and unjust. So I'm all for the idea of a Department of Government Efficiency. I'm all for the idea of these audits, and I'm all for the idea of these cuts. But can you go find a regular citizen to do them, please? Can we go find, some people that have spent a life auditing things? Maybe a committee of regular working Americans who can go and find some of this fact. It won't be hard. It won't be hard. And I know Elon's got lots of AI and things helping him. We can find that shit too. We'll figure it out. We'll figure out how to audit the government. It won't be hard. The Pentagon has failed how many audits in a row? We can figure out how to audit the government. It shouldn't be someone who's got $38 billion of contracts. It's just the most obvious conflict of interest ever is having Elon Musk be the guy who's doing this auditing. And I just don't understand what makes that okay. As much as I don't understand why people would say you shouldn't audit the government, I think that's just as ludicrous as saying Elon Musk should be the one who does it.
Hey, at least somebody's doing it.
Again, I've made this bitch a bunch of times, and a bunch of people have said effectively exactly that. And I think maybe
at least with his position, I feel like he's only able to do this kind of stuff because he's doing a lot of energy work. And the only people that are doing energy work, well, if it isn't Elon Musk doing this here, like China's taking over that whole industry. Like I heard, like their technology is much better than us, like by a lot.
With what industry? What do you mean?
Like I think like the EV.
Okay. Oh, so
I think it's literally just Elon Musk versus China. Like, because the United States wouldn't be able to, like itself, the United States doesn't really like make anything. It just kind of just exploits things. And Elon is kind of somewhat of like an inventor.
I mean, I think there's a lot to that, and I think there's value that someone like him.
If they take him out, then China pretty much could just take over. When there's no world with with everything electric.
Again, I think I see that argument. I don't know that I buy it for two reasons. One, I don't think electric vehicles are that important in the grand scheme of things. I just don't think that's
and not just electric vehicles, but just electric in general. The way that energy is going now, because energy is going to be different.
Oh, so you're talking about you're just thinking about him as a technologist, basically. Yeah. I'm not an anti-Elon Musk person. I'm not an Elon Musk hater. I'm a big fan of his purchase of Twitter and opening it up. And I think there's value to be brought by somebody like that. I don't think that those people should be combined with government. I think industry and government should be separate things, because I think I think the very definition of fascism is when industry and government come together.
If I get myself into a position of power because I've gotten money from the state, I wouldn't qualify. I would be a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Word.
That's what I think. Yeah. That's my take. But
I was just doing photography. And what if he's just building, or he's just working on energy?
Right, but if your photography contracts all came from the government, and the entire reason your photography empire existed is because you got government contracts, I think you're conflicted. Yeah, I think that's a conflict of interest. I think you right now with zero contracts from the government would be a much better person to go do it.
State government or federal government?
Depends which one you're going to audit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I think all of them need to be audited, but I've gotten money from the state.
Nice. I got to get some of that state money.
Yeah, from covering events.
Yeah,
doing that kind of stuff.
So you bring up, that does bring up a good point, a good counterpoint, which is with the level of involvement of our government in industry, it's probably hard to find that many people who've taken no government money. So,
and they kill everybody that tries to invent something without kind of their umbrella over it.
That certainly seems true. But no, so I think that's a good point. I think it's a fair point to say, you can't automatically dismiss everyone is conflicted if they've had some government contracts. $38 billion is a lot of money. And I think I think for him, I think the same is true for Zuckerberg. I think the same is true for Bezos. I don't think any of those people are in the position they're in now without a huge amount of collusion from the government. So, but what do I know?
I feel like out of all of those people, Elon Musk actually does something.
Well, they all do something. Jeff Bezos got
something
you
positive. Something positive. Oh,
I don't know.
Jeff Bezos, I guess you would. Oh, I don't even want to call Amazon positive because it's positive for somebody that needs something quick, but
Right.
for everybody that's involved in the process, it's not positive.
No, not if you work that. Most people who work at Amazon wouldn't call it positive.
Yeah.
No, I mean, these are good things to think about, and maybe we'll bring it up a little bit next week. So I want to hear what you guys think on Elon Musk, his role in this. Do you think Elon Musk is a net positive or a net negative? Do you think it matters? Do you think we should be picking winners and losers in the economy as a government, as a society? I don't know. It's a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. Speaking of interesting stuff to talk about, we have an awesome guest for next week. We will have the return of Katrina Hobbs Everett, one of my favorite people. She's a city councilor in Haverhill, a really inspiring, intelligent, powerful woman who has a lot to say. And one of my favorite people because she is she's not a team sport guy as far as logic. She's a critical thinker, and she's willing to think outside the box and have interesting conversations about a whole variety of topics. So, and I really think for those of us who, or for those people who are seeing DEI through a negative lens, it's definitely had a very negative connotation the last couple of years. We're going to talk to Katrina because she's done a lot of work in that area, and I think we're going to put a different spin in it. I think too often we want to think of things all one way and all the other, and things are more complex and nuanced than that. So we're going to have a nuanced and intelligent conversation about DEI and a whole bunch of stuff that are probably a lot more interesting than Katrina's been working on as a city councilor in Haverhill, and some just her experiences in that role. We had her on as a candidate, and now we'll get her on as a successful candidate. I'm having a vocab. An incumbent, I guess. There we go. That's the best I'm doing.
Whatever that means.
the person in the office. All right, gentlemen. Any last words? Engineer Des, anything to say?
Not at all.
Engineer Des is back to school this week. Vacation's over, baby. He's very excited. Deazy, anything going on for you this week?
Nah, if you guys have me on social media, it's been a little bit crazy. I'm going to just leave it at, go to my Instagram.
Yeah, if you're in the area, especially if you're of the younger persuasion and you're looking for what's up, follow Deazy. He's always at somewhere doing something, and a really good combination of fun out things and responsible, positive, progressive things. So if you want to be both out and doing fun stuff and having a drink and partying a little bit, and positive and involved in your community, that's the man to follow right there. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next Sunday for the Doing Better show. We'll be live at 8 p.m., maybe earlier with some other stuff if we get our shit together. We'll see. If you are interested in becoming involved in the show, we have so much room for doing betterer than we are now. We'd love to have anybody who wants to have any input. If you want to have a little section on the show, if you want to come do your own show in our studio if you're local, we might let you do that too. We got lots and lots of resources and lots available for you. So please don't be a stranger. Please reach out. You can know where to find us on the socials at Doing Better Show, doingbettershow@gmail.com, etc., etc., etc. Have a great week, everybody.